Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into an absolute epic, an 18-chapter philosophical journey through the Bhagavad Gita. Even if you're already familiar with its core lessons on duty and purpose, we're going to unpack this massive cosmic dialogue to reveal some incredible new layers. Trust me, the timeless wisdom here is just off the charts. Let's get right into it. So how exactly does a conversation on a literal battlefield hold the secrets to the universe? The Bhagavad Gita doesn't take place in some quiet, peaceful monastery. It's set smack in the middle of a war zone at Kurukshetra. It grounds this incredibly high-level ancient philosophy in a deeply human crisis of paralysis and doubt. And honestly, that's exactly what makes it so relatable. It speaks directly to our own modern decision-making, especially when we feel totally trapped between conflicting responsibilities. Okay, let's dive into this. To navigate these 18 chapters without getting lost, we've broken this explainer down into a clear roadmap with 5 parts. First, the crisis on the battlefield. Second, mastering paths of yoga. Third, revealing the absolute truth. Fourth, the 3 modes of nature. And finally, the perfection of devotional service. All right, kicking things off with section 1. The crisis on the battlefield. This sets our dramatic scene right at Kurukshetra, where the 2 massive armies, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, are staring each other down, completely primed for war. What's really fascinating here is the chronological progression of this mentor-mentee dialogue. Think of it like this. At minute 1, we are dealing with absolute despair and heavy questions of duty. But as the conversation flows, it expands. By minute 20, we hit the mechanics of action and yoga, pushing outwards to reveal the supreme cosmic reality around minute 40, and eventually culminating in ultimate devotion by the end. It's wild. It starts inside one individual's anxious mind and literally expands out to encompass the entire universe. Right out of the gate in chapter 1, we meet Arjuna. He's this legendary warrior, but he is completely paralyzed. Overwhelmed by compassion, seeing his own family and teachers across enemy lines, he literally throws down his weapons. No way is he fighting. But then, in chapter 2, Lord Krishna steps in. Taking on the role of the spiritual master, Krishna doesn't coddle him at all. He reminds Arjuna of his duty and drops the ultimate foundational truth. The soul is eternal. Only the physical body perishes. So from a cosmic perspective, there's actually nothing to lament. And that massive realization brings us to section 2, Mastering Paths of Yoga. This covers chapters 3 through 6, where Krishna lays out some very distinct, practical paths to counteract lust, confusion, and all that material entanglement. Now, what's really interesting about this is how Arjuna initially reacts. When exploring karma yoga and buddha yoga, Arjuna basically thinks being spiritual means he should just run off to a cave, retire, and meditate. But Krishna says, no, fight. See, Krishna doesn't want Arjuna to abandon his real-world responsibilities. The real secret? Perform your duty, but totally detach yourself from the results. You do the work as an offering without being chained to the desire for a personal payoff. That right there is the true spirit of renunciation. But for those drawn to deeper meditation, chapter 6 outlines the dhyana yoga process as a crystal-clear 4-step physical and mental discipline. Step 1 is regulation, getting a strict grip on your eating, sleeping, and working habits. Once you have that, you move to step 2, mind control. This frees you from getting knocked around by dualities, heat and cold, honor and dishonor. That stability opens the door to step 3, which is meeting the supreme soul within the heart. And it all peaks at step 4, samadhi. This is the absolute highest state where the yogi experiences pure transcendental pleasure by constantly thinking of Krishna. As Arjuna's understanding deepens, the text really shifts gears. Welcome to section 3, revealing the absolute truth. Covering chapters 7 through 12, the narrative dramatically expands from just personal duty to revealing Krishna as the absolute origin of all material and spiritual energies. In chapter 8, we get this rapid-fire Q&A. Arjuna fires off 7 massive questions, like what is Brahman and what is the self? And Krishna fires back with direct, precise answers. Brahman is the indestructible living entity. The self refers to the soul's intrinsic nature of service. But the absolute most crucial principle Krishna drops here is about the exact moment of death. Whatever state of being you remember when you quit your body, that state you will attain without fail. It is all about where your consciousness is fixed when it counts. Which leads us straight into the most confidential knowledge of chapters 9 and 10. Krishna explains that while his unmanifested form pervades literally everything, he actually remains totally detached from matter. The big takeaway here is the sheer power of pure devotion.
Even if someone lacks formal education or deep Vedic knowledge, if their devotion is pure and exclusive, Krishna says he personally helps them from within, destroying the darkness of ignorance. Because at the end of the day, everything springs from just a spark of his splendor.
And then, wow, we hit the dramatic climax in chapter 11. Arjuna asks for proof of Krishna's divinity, and what does he get? A vision of a brilliant, glaring, unlimited universal form, which reveals in one single place everything that ever was, or now is, or will be. Krishna temporarily grants Arjuna divine vision just to witness this terrifying, awe-inspiring form. It completely proves his supremacy beyond a shadow of a doubt. But honestly, it is so intense and overwhelming that Arjuna actually begs him to switch back to his beautiful, pacifying, human-like form. After seeing all that, Arjuna has a super practical question in chapter 12. What's actually better, worshipping the personal form or meditating on the impersonal, formless Brahman? And this brilliantly illustrates a core theme of the Gita. Krishna answers that fixing the mind on the personal form is the most perfect way. Why? Because we're embodied souls. We have minds. We have senses. Using them for personal devotion is the natural, easy route to the ultimate destination. The impersonal path, on the other hand, is just unnatural and fraught with difficulties for us.
Let's move right along to section 4, the 3 modes of nature. Jumping into chapters 13 through 17, we're going to see how this builds our understanding of the literal mechanics of reality and the material world we interact with every single day. According to the detailed breakdown in chapter 14, the entire material world is driven by 3 competing modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Think of it like this. Goodness illuminates things, freeing you from sinful reactions, but it kind of ties you down to a sense of happiness. Passion, that's what drives endless desires, the hustle, and the desperate need for material enjoyment. And ignorance just leads straight to delusion, laziness, and madness. These 3 modes are constantly in a tug of war, trying to influence our soul. True liberation means transcending all 3 of them entirely through devotional service. Chapter 15 gives us this incredibly vivid metaphor of the banyan tree. Imagine a giant tree perfectly reflected on the surface of a lake. The Gita says the material world is just like that, a reflection of the real spiritual world. This illusory, upside-down tree is nourished by those 3 modes of nature we just talked about. So what's the solution? You have to literally cut down this reflected tree with the weapon of detachment. Because while everyone in this reflected material world is fallible and making mistakes, everyone in the true spiritual world is infallible. So, knowing all that, how are we supposed to act down here? Well, chapter 16 breaks human behavior down into some pretty stark dualities. On one side, you have divine qualities, things like charity, self-control, compassion, and nonviolence. On the exact opposite side are demoniac qualities, pride, anger, harshness, and ignorance. The text gives a strong warning here. Demoniac qualities bind people in this terrible illusion of constant rebirth, eventually sinking them. The only way to cultivate divine qualities and reach the supreme destination is by regulating your actions through scripture, rather than just flying off the handle on wild impulses. And that brings us to our final act, Section 5, Perfection of Devotional Service. We're transitioning into the conclusion in chapter 18, bringing the massive cosmic scale of this explainer right back down to the ultimate, intimate personal choice. Just before we hit that grand conclusion, chapter 17 outlines the divisions of faith and introduces a seriously vital phrase, Om Tat Sat. This is the symbolic representation of the supreme absolute truth. Om indicates the supreme, Tat represents getting free from material entanglement, and Sat means the absolute truth is the ultimate objective. Basically, any sacrifice or charity done without faith in the supreme is completely impermanent. Everything has to be connected back to the source. And here we are at chapter 18, the grand conclusion. The core message here is loud and clear. Attain perfection by doing your prescribed duty without expectation of result. So, the crucial point is this. You should never, ever give up your duty. You do your own work, not someone else's. The absolute highest platform of self-realization isn't running away into the woods. It's pure devotional service. It's actively engaging in the world while always depending on Krishna and working under his protection. Which brings us full circle, right back to Arjuna on the battlefield. After listening to this entire philosophical masterpiece, his initial paralysis is totally gone. By Krishna's grace, the illusion simply vanishes. His doubt is destroyed. Arjuna makes his final choice, and he chooses to fight. He steps up to perform his duty.
not out of anger and not out of greed, but strictly according to Krishna's directions. And that leaves us with a final, pretty heavy question to ponder. In your own daily battles between duty and desire, which mode of nature is actually guiding your decisions? Are you acting in ignorance, passion, or goodness? It's a remarkably powerful lens to view our daily lives through, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the Bhagavad Gita today. Keep reflecting, keep learning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.